this video, we're diving into one of the most interesting news stories in the entertainment and legal world right now. The lawsuit filed by Drake against Universal Music Group, UMG.
He's gone ahead and filed a lawsuit against his own record company, Universal Music Group.
This case isn't just about a celebrity throwing around legal threats. The case has the potential to affect the future of how streaming platforms, record labels, and artists do business with each other. But what exactly is at stake? Why does this case have the potential to shift the music industry forever? Let's break it down.
Drake.
So then the question, why would he sue Universal for publishing it, but not sue the guy who's behind it? And the only answer I could get is, well, defamation is defamation, but business is business, and I'm going to get dragged, so I'm just not going to do that. And I just think that's really weak.
The story begins with one of the most successful artists in modern history, Drake, who is known for his global hits and ever-expanding empire.
They were lip syncing. This, you try to sue a dude because he said something you didn't like. Only a white dude is going to call the police. Because this nigga threatened me already. It was the most Karen shit I've ever seen.
Drake has managed to make his mark in almost every corner of the entertainment world. But behind his music, there's a massive business engine driving the machine, UMG and streaming platforms like Spotify. However, the relationship between these parties has gotten rocky, especially after the exchange of diss tracks between Drake and Kendrick, the aftermath of which led to Drake filing a defamation lawsuit against UMG.
He filed a petition against UMG. He claimed the label used dishonest tactics to increase the number of listeners for Not Like Us. He also filed a petition against UMG alleging defamation and claiming that the label could have stopped the release of Not Like Us.
Alleging that the record label used bots to manipulate streams, withheld revenue, and played a role in skewing public opinion on the track Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar.
You better not ever go to Cell Block 1. To any that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from them. They tell me Chubb's the only one to get your hand-me-downs.
Which threw a lot of allegations towards the superstar, especially calling him a pedophile. People have been calling this lawsuit a bitch move. But in this case, a massive amount of money is at stake. If these allegations are true, Drake can invoke a RICO Act and the court may award treble damages 3 times the amount of actual damages if he wins. For instance, if actual damages are calculated at $10 million, treble damages would amount to $30 million. So, what happens if the relationship between Drake, UMG, and Spotify falls apart? What does it mean for the future of streaming and the way artists and labels do business? First of all, the 3 major parties are concerned by this lawsuit: Drake, UMG, and Spotify. Initially, these 3 parties interacted together as business partners, where each party depends on the other for success. But the relationship between them has since gone sour. Drake has been with UMG for a significant portion of his career, and they have helped him rise to the top of the music world. UMG, one of the largest music conglomerates globally, oversees a vast roster of artists and has been instrumental in shaping Drake's image, his career, and his financial success. On the other end, Spotify is the global leader in music streaming and serves as one of Drake's biggest platforms for reaching his audience. Spotify has become a massive source of revenue for the artist. In fact, streaming accounts for the majority of an artist's income these days, especially for global stars like Drake. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The lawsuit is focused on the accusation that UMG is involved in manipulating Spotify's platform to inflate the streams of the song, which was defaming him, in order to control market perception and affect the artist's revenue. In the most recent development, Drake filed a defamation lawsuit against UMG, accusing the label of manipulating streams, withholding revenue, and possibly even spreading misinformation about his music to harm his reputation. According to reports, UMG allegedly worked with Spotify to suppress Drake's streaming numbers, pushing other artists ahead of him in an effort to shift the public's perception and push a different narrative about Drake's place in the music industry. The lawsuit claims that during the beef with Kendrick Lamar, UMG, in their efforts to ruin his image, actively worked to favor Kendrick by promoting his content over Drake's. This wasn't just about numbers. This was a matter of shaping the narrative in the hip-hop community, especially during the Kendrick and Drake public beef. So, what does this mean for all parties if the relationship dissolves? First thing to consider is the financial magnitude of the situation. Spotify is one of the largest streaming platforms with billions in revenue each year. Music streaming accounts for a huge portion of Spotify's revenue, and Drake is one of the top performers on the platform. Every time one of his songs is played, millions of dollars flow through the streaming ecosystem, both to him and to the record label. If Drake were to sever his relationship with UMG, he could walk away with control of his own music rights, allowing him to renegotiate his deal with Spotify or any other streaming platform on better terms. This would allow him to leverage his massive following even further, cutting out the middleman, the record label, and making more money per stream. On the flip side, UMG could lose a valuable asset, one of the most successful artists of the last decade. Losing Drake would hurt UMG's bottom line and damage their market share in the music industry, potentially costing them billions. But it doesn't stop there. Not only would Drake stand to gain millions in damages, but the legal precedent set could change the structure of music streaming deals globally. If an influential artist like Drake can take control of his own music rights and streaming revenue, the entire industry could be in for a major shift as other musicians will follow suit. For Spotify, the situation is also critical. Spotify and Drake's partnership has been one of the most profitable for the platform. If Drake were to leave, Spotify would lose a huge revenue stream. While Spotify has a large roster of artists, Drake is one of their most valuable assets, bringing in millions of streams and maintaining an active user base. Also, Drake is influential in the industry, and losing him could have a ripple effect with other artists looking for independence, boycotting the platform for other platforms. In fact, Spotify's stock price has been highly correlated with the success of key artists like Drake. This raises the question, how much exactly is on the line? Let's talk numbers for a second. Drake's streaming revenue is massive. For reference, his album Scorpion had over 1 billion streams in its first week of release, generating millions of dollars in revenue.
Drake's Scorpion turns 5 years old this year. Let's take a look back and see how it actually aged. But the highs are very high. It could have been one of Drake's best albums if he trimmed it.
According to some estimates, Drake's annual revenue from streaming alone could be anywhere between 30 million to 50 million, with a significant portion of that coming from Spotify. So, when you consider the amount of money that could be lost if he breaks ties with Spotify or UMG, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar scenario. If Drake were to leave UMG, he'd likely have to negotiate directly with Spotify or another platform, cutting out the record label entirely. This could mean a significant increase in revenue per stream and will have a negative effect on UMG's stock price and market influence. Spotify too would feel the financial impact. Drake is one of their most important artists, and if he leaves, it could set a domino effect in motion that leads to the decline of the platform's growth, especially in markets where Drake is a key figure. So what do you think? Will Drake win and change the music industry forever? Or will the power of the labels and platforms keep him in check?